So, welcome, dear students. Are you there? Can you hear me, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, let us solve the paper. We are going to solve the unsolved paper number 3. We have already solved the paper number 1 and paper number 2. So, let's move forward and understand the section number A, my dear students. Read the given passage and answer the question number 1 to 5 that follow. When the gas molecule or atoms when the gas molecules or atoms are held to the solid surface by chemical bonds, the adsorption is termed as a chemical adsorption or chemisorption. A curve which is describes the variation of amount of gas adsorbed by the adsorbent with the pressure at constant temperature is called adsorption isotherm. Freundlich adsorption isotherm is given by the equation x by m, that is equal to k into p to the power 1 upon n, where n is greater than 1. A similar equation can be proposed for adsorption from solution. Adsorption phenomena is involved in a matter from solution, froth flotation process, etc. So now, my dear students, let us look at the various questions. The first question, which has higher enthalpy of adsorption, physisorption or chemisorption? Give reason. So my dear students, we can easily understand that when physisorption takes place, we have weak van der Waals forces that takes place. Due to weak van der Waals forces, the enthalpy of adsorption is lower. But in case of the chemisorptions, the uh, chemical bonds are formed between the adsorbent and adsorbate, and thus the strong forces comes into play, and that is why the enthalpy of adsorption is higher as compared to the physisorption. Then the next question, what type of curve is obtained if we plot a graph between x by m and p? So you can see here, my dear students, that I have drawn the graph of x by m versus p. Here you can see it. You can see that I am talking about this graph. That this is the graph I am talking about. This is the graph, dear students, that this graph is x by m versus p. You can see that it's an exponential kind of graph. In this graph, we really look into what we understand. Let us pay attention, my dear students. So if we take, x by m on the, can you see what I'm drawing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for reply. So this is how it goes. And then we have a graph like this, which shows that at some portion in between this, you can see, you can easily observe that in between this portion, the graph is actually linear. Then at certain portion, this is become parallel to the p-axis. So here, from here, the saturation has been created and there is no effect of pressure. So this is how, my dear students, we can easily explain that our x by m is equal to k into p raised to 1 upon n. Whenever n is equal to 1, my dear students, we can have it's kp, x by m is equal to kp. So it's a, linear, it is x by m is equal to kp plus 0, which is, y is equal to mx plus c. So this 0 represents this point, my dear students, that it starts from 0 and then it goes in the linear form. So x by m is equal to kp. That shows it is a linear, and at very high pressure, this become 1 upon n is equal to 1 upon infinity, and that is x by m is equal to k p raised to 0, and therefore our x by m is equal to, at very high pressure, x by m is equal to k, because p raised to 0 is equal to 1, and thus the linear graph, or the graph parallel to the p axis, and there is no effect of pressure in that at very high pressure. So this is how, my dear student, we understand about the graph that we get in case of the Freundlich isotherms. Can you see the question paper now, my dear students? Dear students, on your screen, can you see the question paper now?
Yes, sir.
Very good. So this is what I have already explained. So I'm just removing it so that we can understand. You can see that we get an exponential graph, and this is the graph that we have studied about. Now let's move to the next question, my dear students. Let's move to the next question. Now we have the next question that tells us, question number 3, how do we obtain the value of n in x by m is equal to k p 1 upon n by plotting the graph between log of x by m and log of p. So, my dear students, I have tried to show you it here, that when we plot a graph of log of x by m versus log of p, we get a straight line. That straight line has got log of k as an intercept, and your slope is 1 by n, and therefore n is equal to 1 upon slope. Let me explain it once again to you, my dear students. Please pay attention to this, and let me explain you. See, if we have, my dear students, if we have this equation, according to the Freundlich equation, we have x by m. Can you see what I'm writing here? Dear students, can you see I'm writing here? बच्चों मैं जो
Yes,
लिख
sir.
रहा
Yes,
हूँ
sir.
आपको
Yes,
दिख रहा
sir.
है कि नहीं? हेलो?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So we have the Freundlich equation x by m is equal to k into p raised to 1 upon m. If we take log of both the sides, so we can write log of x by m is equal to log of k multiplied by p raised to 1 upon n. But we know that log of a into b is equal to log a plus log b, and therefore we can write log of x by m is equal to log of k plus log of p raised to 1 upon n, but we are well aware that log of a raised to x is equal to x log a, and therefore finally we write this equation as log of x by m. Finally we write this equation as log of x by m is equal to 1 upon n log of p plus log of k. This is how, my dear student, we write about. When we write this, we actually make it equal to, y is equal to mx plus c. So when we draw the graph of y versus x, that is, if we plot a graph of log of x by m versus log of p, my dear student, sorry, we can have this kind of graph which we can extrapolate easily this way. When we extrapolate this, this is what it is, the intercept. So this is the intercept, my dear students, which is known as the log of k. If we, take the slope, then the slope is your m, which is 1 by n. So slope is equal to 1 by n, and therefore n is equal to 1 upon slope. This is how, my dear student, we understand this kind of equation. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. बच्चों अगर आपको कुछ पूछना है, कुछ समझ में नहीं आया तो आप लोग पूछ सकते हैं। तो बच्चों ये वी हैव सॉल्व दिस क्वेश्चन, क्वेश्चन नंबर 3. नाउ राइट द इक्वेशन फॉर द एडसॉर्प्शन फ्रॉम सॉल्यूशन. So, my dear students, when it comes to the solution, just instead of pressure, we represent the concentration, and that is why instead of P, we are going to put the term C, and thus we can write the equation as X by M. We can easily write this equation as X by M is equal to K, instead of P we will write C, which is a molar concentration, Kc raised to 1 upon N. So for the adsorption from solution we can write the equation. Hello dear students, can you see me? Please reply faster.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So this is how, my dear student, we can answer the question, write the equation for adsorption from solution. So for adsorption from solution, we can write X by M is equal to K into C to the power 1 upon N. Then give an example of an adsorbent which can achieve control of humidity. So the answer is silica gel, my dear students. Silica gel is used to control the humidity. It absorbs the moisture, and it is also used as a desiccant. It is also used as a desiccant, or into the desiccators it is used. So this is how we can answer all these questions. Now if you have any doubt, you can ask me, or you. Okay, now let's move to the next question. Question number 6 to 10, let us move. Write the outer electronic configuration of lanthanoids. So my dear students, when we look into the outer electronic configuration of lanthanoids, we will come to know that it is xenon 4f0 to 14, 5d1 to 2, 5d1 to 2, and then 6s2. So this is how we can write the outer electronic configuration for lanthanoids. Out of chlorobenzene and benzyl chloride, which one get easily hydrolyzed by aqueous NaOH and why? The answer is benzyl chloride can easily get hydrolyzed by aqueous NaOH, but chlorobenzene cannot be. And the reason is, in the chlorobenzene, there is a partial double bond character between the chlorine and benzene ring. But here the bond CH2Cl is completely single bond, and even the bond between chlorine and C is also single bond. Let me explain little bit more, my dear students, so that you can understand it better. So here we are asked about the two different compound. One compound is chlorobenzene. So let us understand about the chlorobenzene. Can you see, my dear students, the new screen where I have written, I am drawing the structure of chlorobenzene. Can you see? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So you can see that in the chlorobenzene, the chlorine has got three pair of electron. This three pair of electron undergoes the process or a phenomena which is known as the resonance, my dear students. And due to resonance, what happens? There is a double bond generated between the uh, between the chlorine, because these two electron come here, it forms the double bond, and then we have Cl plus with two lone pairs. This electron comes out here, and we have negative charge here. Then we have this double bond. Then, my dear students, this electron, when they come here, um, these electron of double bond, they are settled at that place. So you will have negative charge here, you have double bond, and then you have Cl. So you can see that such five resonance structures are possible. Such 5 resonance structures are possible, in which 3 have 3 resonance structures have double bond, my dear students. So again, if you move to the next, my dear students, now what happens? This electron goes here and this electron comes here, and you can see the another kind of resonance structures here. And then you have Cl with the double bond and two lone pairs, and it becomes Cm plus. So these three resonance structures have double bond, and that is why we can say that this chlorobenzene, if we represent here in this way, this bond has got partial double bond character. Partial double bond character. Due to this partial double bond character, this bond is difficult to be broken. Bond difficult to be broken. But if you look into CH2Cl, my dear students, CH2 and Cl, this is a clear single bond. This is a single bond. No double bond character. So comparatively, it is easy to break this bond. Comparatively, easy to break the bond. And this is the reason, my dear students, that benzyl chloride can be easily hydrolyzed. So let me read the question once again for you. Out of chlorobenzene and benzyl chloride, which one gets easily hydrolyzed by aqueous NaOH and why? So out of chlorobenzene and benzyl chloride can be easily hydrolyzed by aqueous NaOH as compared to chlorobenzene, because in chlorobenzene the carbon Cl bond has got partial double bond character, whereas in benzyl chloride carbon Cl double bond has not the double bond character, but it's a simple single bond, and that is why it can be broken easily. So my dear students, when this chlorobenzene reacts with NaOH, reaction is difficult. But when this benzyl chloride reacts with NaOH, it undergoes hydrolysis and easily gives us benzyl alcohol. And the hydrolysis is easy in this case, but it is difficult for chlorobenzene. So I hope you understood, my dear students. अगर आपको कोई डाउट है, अगर कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा है तो बच्चों पूछ सकते हैं आप. हेलो बच्चों, क्या आप मुझे सुन पा रहे हैं? हेलो बच्चों.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So now let's move to the next question, my dear students. Can any of you read the next question for me? बच्चों, आप में से कोई नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन पढ़ सकता है क्या, जब तक मैं ये क्लीन करूं तब तक? क्वेश्चन नंबर 8 पढ़ना है. क्वेश्चन नंबर 8, एनी वन ऑफ यू? Okay. Let me read it for you. Let me read the question number 8 for you. Of methylamine and aniline, which is stronger base and why? Of methylamine and aniline, which is stronger base and why? Let me explain this to you, my dear students. Can you see the screen? What I have changed? मैंने screen change की है बच्चों. क्या आपको change की हुई screen दिख
Yes.
रही है?
Yes, sir.
So we have methylamine. Methylamine. This is methylamine CH3 NH2, my dear students. You can see that there is a lone pair available on nitrogen. We are well aware that CH3 is electron donating group, EDG. So it is electron donating group. Thus, there is a minus I effect. So due to inductive effect, my dear students, CH3 donates the electron, and that is why the availability of the electron or lone pair availability of lone pair increases. But if you look into the aniline, my dear students, you will realize that aniline is this. So in aniline we have a benzene ring, and then we have nitrogen NH2, and then this electron lone pair is available. This lone pair is involved into the resonance, my dear students, and you can see that these electrons, they undergo the process of resonance. There is a double bond NH2, and we have this. Now in the next, this 2 electron goes here, and this 2 electron come here, and you can have NH2 plus. You can even show plus here, and then you have negative charge here. Again, my dear students, if this electron goes here, these electrons are going to be there, and then again you have this double bond NH2 plus. Then you have the negative charge here, 2 electrons, and then you have, and then from here, my dear students, this electron goes here, and this electron get back to the nitrogen. So finally we get this kind of structure. We have NH2, and then from this to this, when the bond moves in this direction, we get this. So you can see that these electrons are involved into the resonance. These electrons are involved in resonance. So what do we understand? That availability of this electron, availability decreases. Now, my dear students, basic nature depends upon the ability of nitrogen to donate the electron in amines. In amines, basic character depends upon the ability of N to donate lone pair of electron. So if the lone pair of electron is available more, it can be easily donated. If it is available more, then it can be easily donated. But if it is not available, and if it is involved in the resonance, it cannot be easily donated. And that is why, my dear students, now you can easily answer this question. Let me read the question once again for you. Of methylamine and aniline, which is stronger base and why? So methylamine can easily donate the lone pair available on the nitrogen, whereas aniline, the lone pair is not much available, and that is why it is difficult to donate that lone pair, and that is why we can say that methylamine is more basic than aniline. We can say methylamine is more basic than aniline. So This is how, my dear students, we understand about the basic character of methylamine and aniline. Now let's move forward and read or solve the next question for you. So what is the next question? What does Kb value of an amine stands for? So let us answer this question, my dear students, that what does the Kb value for amine stands for? My dear students, Kb is simply the base dissociation or base ionization constant. Kb actually, Kb represents the base ionization or dissociation constant. So if you have RNH2 or then when it reacts with H2O, my dear students, it produces RNH3 plus and OH minus. Sometime or when the equilibrium is established, this K is equal to the concentration of RNH3 plus multiplied by the concentration of OH minus divided by the concentration of RNH2 and the concentration of water. But if we consider the concentration of water as a constant, so we write K into H2O, that is what we represent it as a Kb, and this Kb is equal to the concentration of RNH3 plus, sorry, I made a mistake. The concentration of RNH3 plus multiplied by the concentration of OH minus divided by the concentration of amine RNH2. And this is what it is known as the base ionization or base dissociation constant. Please remember, my dear students, that more is the value of Kb, more basic is the amine. Same way, my dear students, we can write less is the value of Kb, less basic is the amine. So this is the complete information about Kb that we can give for amine, my dear students. But if you have any question, you can ask me. बच्चों अगर कुछ समझ में नहीं आया तो आप लोग पूछ सकते हैं. तो चलिए, we have studied about the Kb now. Now let us study the next question. What structural differences is between the alpha glucose and beta glucose? So please remember, my dear students, that there is a difference in the position of H and OH, in the position of H and OH on carbon number 1 into the glucose. I may try to show you the structure, my dear students. Please have little patience. If we can see it, I'm trying to show you. Yes. Can you see this, my dear students? Can you see this? Dear students, can you see what I have been trying to show you? Please reply. I would be happy, my dear students, if you can reply.
No, sir.
Just wait, my child. If you see, just tell me that yes, you can see it. Okay, no problem. Can you see this now? Alpha glucose and beta glucose?
Yes, sir.
On your screen?
Yes, sir.
Look at the carbon number 1. Can you see the carbon number 1 here? I am moving the cursor. हेलो, दिख रहा है बच्चों कि नहीं दिख रहा है? प्यारे बच्चों, आपको दिख रहा है कि नहीं?
दिख रहा है सर.
ठीक है बच्चों, ये देख लीजिए. ये जो 1 नंबर पे जो कार्बन है ना, उसको देखिए. This is what I'm talking about. Here H is above and OH is above and OH is under. Here OH is above and H is under. Can you see this? So that is what it is,
Yes.
the basic
Yes, sir.
difference between the alpha D glucose and beta D glucose. You can see now, I hope. Can you see, dear student? This is your alpha D glucose and this is your beta D glucose. This is alpha D glucose HNOH. This is beta D glucose HNOH. That is the basic difference that we can understand. समझ में आ रहा है बच्चों की नहीं आ रहा है? Hello? Please do not delay. बच्चों,
Yes, sir.
okay, यहाँ पे भी
Yes.
देख लीजिए. You have alpha D glucose and beta D glucose. This is the carbon number 1. This is the carbon number 1, my dear students, and into the carbon number 1, you can easily see that in carbon number 1, you can easily see that in alpha D glucose, the HCOH, but in beta D glucose, we have OHCH. Understood? So if you answer this question, you should answer this question as what structural difference is there between alpha D glucose and beta D glucose? So alpha D glucose and beta D glucose differ by position of H and OH on carbon 1 of glucose. That is what we can write. There is one more thing which you would like to know. I'm just giving you actually the answer get over here. But if we really look into the polymers, then the polymer of alpha D glucose, my dear student, the polymer of alpha D glucose is starch, but the polymer of beta D glucose is cellulose. So this is how, my dear students, we can easily understand about the structural difference into the alpha D glucose and beta D glucose. So now, my dear students, let's move to the question, next section of the question paper. Question number 11 to 15 are multiple choice question. Let me read the first question for you. CONH36 and CrCN6 and CrNH36 and COCN6 present example of what kind of, is it linkage isomerism? It is coordination isomerism, ionization